We are going to do some open-ended question practice with our book this week when I was young in the mountains. Okay, um, your reading tests are going to have some extra parts added. Okay, so each week you're going to have vocabulary. You're going to have comprehension on the story. Okay. And then sometimes you're going to have open ended questions on the story. That means that you have to write a response. And then sometimes you're going to have what's called a cold read. Cold read means you've never seen the text, you read it, and you answer questions on that text. Okay. So it's kind of going to go back and forth. The comprehension and the vocabulary is always there. Sometimes you'll see questions that kind of look like this, and they have to do with when I was young in the mountains. And then sometimes you'll have a passage that is not connected directly to the weekly story, and you'll answer questions on that. Okay. So today I'm going to walk you through answering questions like this that are connected to the story. You've had some videos already that say open-ended practice, and that is usually been from the cold read. I think I may have done one more of these this year. All right, so let's get started. By this point, you should have read or listened to the book several times. If you have not, you should pause this video and you should go and listen to the book or read it at least one more time. Okay. All right, so let's look at this one. It's numbered 6 because there's other parts to this, but we're just focusing here today. So again, talking about this book, it says, does the main character have positive or negative feelings about where she lives, and how do you know? Okay, well, when I'm reading the book, I get the feeling that she likes where she lives. But I can't just put that. I have to actually go back in the text and find the answer. And I did that before I started this video. At the very end of the book, on this page, I'm trying to get it to where you can see it. Okay, on this page, if you want to pause and read this page, that would probably be a good idea. I'll get it. All right. Now I'm going to read it to you. When I was young in the mountains, I never wanted to go to the ocean, and I never wanted to go to the desert. I never wanted to go anywhere else in the world, for I was in the mountains, and that was always enough. So the question asked, does the main character have positive or negative feelings about where she lives? How do you know? All right, so I'm going to get a text box. And I'm going to say she has positive feelings because she says she doesn't want to go anywhere else. So I'm going to say she has positive feelings, comma. Well, I'm going to say because, period. She says she does not want to go anywhere else. Okay. All right, let's look at the second question. It's actually number 7. How is the setting different or similar to where you live? All right, well, it's called When I Was Young in the Mountains. I actually grew up on Sand Mountain in Section. And so a lot of these things are similar to how I live, except I did not grow up this long ago. Okay, so there are some similar things for me because I grew up on a mountain. All right, so I'm going to say, like the main character, I grew up living on a mountain. Now, what if you didn't? What if you grew up in a big city? Well, then you would say, this is different from where I grew up because I grew up in a big city. Right? This is a question that really you cannot get wrong unless you don't answer it at all. Okay, let's look at number 8. When you look at the illustrations, what are 2 ways you can infer? That means use what you see in the illustrations or the pictures. You can infer the time period in which the story takes place. All right, I marked this page because I can tell that this is a long time ago. Do you see anything in this page that tells you this is a long time ago? All right, I noticed the clothing is different. And then I also noticed this stove is very different than what we have. I also know by reading the book that this little girl has had a bath from water being heated up, not from like a bathtub. All right, so there's several things here, but the question says 2 ways, so I'm only going to list 2 ways. All right, let's write it down. It says when you look at the illustrations, what are 2 ways that you can infer the time period in which the story takes place? Okay, I know this happened long ago because the stove is different from mine. And the people are wearing older looking clothing or old-fashioned looking clothing. Now, I want you to notice that I have a capital letter at the beginning of all my sentences, and I have a period at the end. You have to have those things to get all of the points on your assessments. All right, number 9. What's one way that you could connect the book, When I Was Young in the Mountains, that helped you understand how the characters felt? Okay, was there anything that you have done that the characters in this book also did? All right, so let's think. All right, here's an example. All right, this is the little girl, and she's going outside to use the restroom with her grandmother. Now, I think we all have indoor plumbing now, but maybe we have gone on an adventure at night with our grandmother. Okay, that could be an example. Let's see. This is them going to school. I know most of you or all of you are virtual right now, but you've all gone to school before. Here's Grandma getting the snake in the yard. Okay, so maybe your grandma has had to protect something before. All right, here's the little girl snapping beans with her grandparents. All right. One thing that I can connect to in this page is that my grandfather used to whittle, which is what the grandfather here is doing. And so that's what I'm going to say. Whittle is when you take a stick and you carve it down with a knife. Okay, so I'm going to say my grandfather used to whittle when I was younger too. Grandfather used to whittle when I was younger too. All right, the last one. This one is a little tough, so I really want to make sure we talk about this one. It says, so I can move that. Nope. Okay, if this book was set in the present time, what would probably be different? All right, so what are some things that would be different if this was set today? Well, I can think of one is that they would have indoor plumbing. Okay, the family would have indoor plumbing. All right, like I said, eventually you're going to be expected to do these questions by yourself.